How you do, mateys boxing fans? Cheers. So, it's coming. March 18, we shall finally see a terrific fight. Gennady Golovkin Triple G fights Daniel Jacobs. This should be a good fight. So let's go and talk about it. And let's talk about these two fighters to see what's going to happen in this fight, and to consider as many factors as possible so we cover all the aspects of this incoming fight. So let's start with the teams. As a trainer into this fight comes, for Daniel Jacobs, comes Andre Rozier. He's a very good boxing trainer, and he's should be especially the asset for Jacobs, because Mr. Rozier already was bringing his fighter, who was his nephew, Curtis Stevens, against Golovkin a few years ago. So as a trainer, Mr. Rozier already knows what he's facing, what he's coming to. As a cornerman, he's going to be a great asset to Daniel Jacobs, because he's physically, psychologically, emotionally, and skill-wise, technically, as a cornerman, he knows what he's coming into. So he should be very, very good as a cornerman and a trainer for Daniel Jacobs. His Daniel Jacobs promoter, Al Heyman, I think he's also good. I used to feel kind of suspicious towards Al Heyman. He came kind of from behind, from below, from entertainment industry into boxing. But I think the idea, what's how I understand that he's trying to bring, Mr. Al Heyman, to bring boxing back to the wide masses of boxing fans, especially those fans who cannot afford those crazy prices for pay-per-view, HBO, back to the ESPN, the way it was used to be back in the day when Muhammad Ali was still coming into the ring to fight. So I have good feeling about his coming into this sport. As far as Golovkin teams, I think Golovkin is less fortunate. I think Abel Sanchez is not as good trainer as they talk about him, as they describe him. To me, he didn't make any good champion. Yeah, he came with Terry Norris. It was 1991, I believe. Terry Norris became a champion first time. Or it was 1990. And he came with him into the ring. Yeah, he brought him into the ring. But then, 1992, it was 93. It was last fight when Terry Norris fought already aging Sugar Ray Leonard, when it was the last fight of Sugar, or I believe it was last time when Abel Sanchez came into the ring with Terry Norris. After that, Terry Norris chose another trainer for himself. So if the trainer brought you into the ring, made you a champion, and he's valuable to you, so you would cherish it and you would hold on to it. But Terry Norris chose to pick another trainer literally within a couple of years of becoming a champion. To me, it says something. I don't know exactly what happened, but I can only assume. But it's not a good point. And at the time when Golovkin came to the USA in 2010, Abel Sanchez didn't make any champion after that, and he actually was renting his facility and in his gym for some other sports activities. So he actually was out of boxing as a trainer, out of this business. It tells a lot that he was not successful. Something was amiss. Maybe his psychological part, maybe he just not into it, until it happened that Golovkin came into this country. As you know, Golovkin escaped from Germany. Golovkin spent in Germany, how many, 2 years? Yeah, 2 years. No, more than that. He spent 4 years. in Germany. And Germany is a mass grave of the boxing talents, as I spoke before about it. No, except Klitschko's came out of it, nobody else. So Golovkin made it to America, and he got to Abel Sanchez. I wish he would get someone else who could make him more, especially in terms of skills. Golovkin was skilled when he came first to America in 2010, and now 2017, 2016, last year I saw him fighting. He didn't really grow. So to me, Abel Sanchez didn't do any job at all. Poor work. And Golovkin doesn't bring anything new into the ring. He was good at that level in 2010 and the same level in 2016. And as far as his opposition, many of you guys, you criticize Golovkin that who he fought, yeah? No big names. And it tells not about Golovkin, it tells about his promoter, Tom Lafleur, who does shitty job. He doesn't give any names. He is actually Lafleur. He takes orders from HBO. They tell him who to fight, when to fight. They put a date for him, and they pick up, those guys from the streets, and no big names. So I would say that JACOBS has better team than Golovkin has. So it's 1 point for, in this regard, better point for JACOBS. And as far as Abel Sanchez being a corner man for Golovkin, he's asking him to play possum, to get more rounds, which he doesn't have to do that. He can knock out people in the first round, probably everybody else within 3 rounds as the most. And he gets punched in the face just because he wants to entertain. He wants to bring drama, so-called drama, into the ring. We don't need drama, we need tragedy and comedy, yeah? If I would be Abel Sanchez, yeah, I would say, Golovkin, enough joking. I would put him fighting with one hand, left or right, just one hand. I would make history, making Golovkin fighting all the fights with one hand, and I'm sure he would beat everybody who he fought with one single hand, whether right or left, doesn't matter. He would finish, everybody by knockout. That's how good as a fighter he is, and the talent. So now let's go into the individual qualities. So as far as fighting experience and skills, Golovkin has obviously a longer career. He has up to 400 fights and participation in the, he was silver champion in the Athens Olympic Games, and he was fighting on the World Championships as a amateur, 400 fights. As far as JACOBS, I believe he has 137 fights and only 7 losses as an amateur, which is good, which is very good, but he had mostly success on the national level in the United States, like boxing glove champion and stuff, which is pretty high, but not as high what Golovkin had, obviously. And as far as their professional career, I would say it's rather close, though JACOBS has 1 loss to Dmitry Pirog. Golovkin is not defeated. Golovkin has 36 fights, 33 by KO, and 3 by decision, and JACOBS has 33 fights and 29 by KO, and 1 loss and 3 by decision. The majority of his knockouts he got in the first, second, and maximum 3rd round, the majority of them, which makes him having less rounds, which is not as advantageous. I wish he would go longer fights, so he would have more experience. So many of you guys, you judge him by his loss. By his loss to Dmitry Pirog in 2000, when it was 2010. Yeah, it was 2010. The time is flying, 7 years ago. And some people say that he has a glass chin, because he fell down from that punch. I don't believe he has a weak chin, because Pirog, he came into the fight against Pirog. Pirog came to this country at that time an unknown quality fighter. He was a high quality fighter. He, in many things, he reminds me pretty much Mayweather, except he is bigger. He is a middleweight. Mayweather is a welterweight, and Pirog is a middleweight. And he has styles similar to what Mayweather has. Those body motions, his footwork terrific, except he hits harder than Mayweather. So in that what punch which brought Daniel Jacobs in the 5th round down. It was a flash right to the jaw. He fell, and he was actually coming up to his senses, and he was trying to get up. I think in that referee made a boo-boo, and the referee just waited off without counting. He counted until 4 or 5, and Jacobs was coming to his senses. He would probably make it up to his feet by count 9, and the fight should be continued. Though I doubt he would probably win. I doubt he would win from Pirog, but it would be probably by decision, because he would be on a back foot running away, and knowing what the difference is in a punching power. Also, we could characterize him by his last fights. The biggest fight he had, it was against Peter Quillin, and he dropped Peter Quillin in the 1st round, and then he came up to finish him off with actually he hurt him with one punch. It was right good punch, and he came with a combo, and I think referee also prematurely stopped that fight. He should count to Peter Quillin, and the referee did not. Peter Quillin didn't go down, he just was on his feet, kind of woozy. He should simply count or whatever, but like a standing count. But he chose not to, which I thought it was not fair. But the fight could be also a totally different outcome. But anyway, it came as a knockout in favor of Jacobs, which is good for him. And basically, his loss to Daniel Pirog, I think it was a good experience for him. Before that, he was full of himself. He probably thought that his shit doesn't stink. And that's where the trouble comes, when people think that way about themselves. So Pirog humbled him down. And after that, he improved, and he came up strong. That's why he came up so strong against Quillin. Quillin is a very decent fighter. And in his last fight against Sergio Mora, people say that he has a weak chin because Sergio Mora dropped him. I don't believe he was actually out or he was hurt at all, even for a second. Simply Mora caught him when he was standing out of balance, so it was like a push, basically. Push, of course, to the jaw. So he went down, but he came back on his feet right away, and he finished off strong. So he's good. I don't believe he has a weak chin. And as far as fighting spirit, I think he has a terrific spirit. And maybe not as good as Golovkin's spirit. Golovkin's spirit is awesome. Golovkin, he is something. Golovkin, yeah. So, coming to this fight, they have many similar things, except probably the fighting spirit. Golovkin, he is a monster. That's where the monstrosity is in his fighting spirit, his level of aggression. So, does Jacob have any chance? I think he does. He does a chance of a puncher if he manages to push Golovkin back, kind of working in spurts, in and out. When he is in, using his long arms, he should come into Golovkin, giving him not straightforward attacks, but coming under the angles, in the diagonally, coming into the attacking mode, coming and pushing, Golovkin backward, using his reach advantage, and he might land something because he has a big punch. And even though Golovkin has a good chin, but who knows if something happens, like, guy like JACOBS, he has a big punch. If he lands something on Golovkin, we don't know what happened to to Golovkin. Even Golovkin can go down. And then if you go in, pushing, Golovkin back, and then whatever success, the degree of success, get out under the angle, left, right, don't go just backward, go left or right, so Golovkin couldn't catch you in the counter attack. And then maybe in this sense he can get some success. Also, age-wise, JACOBS will be 30-year-old. It's a very much, zenith of age. He's in his prime. Golovkin will be 35, 2 weeks short, shy of 35-year-old at the time of the fight, which is not really too old, but not really anymore young. And if you know Roy Jones, famous Roy Jones, for the first time he got knocked out when he was 35-year-old. Anthony Tarver knocked him out cold. At that time, Roy Jones was 35. Before that, nobody would even think that it's possible that anyone can fight and beat Roy Jones. But Anthony Tarver did it when Roy Jones was 35. So age can be a critical factor. And some of you guys, you noticed that Golovkin was getting a bit, he got quite a few punches into his face, fighting Brooks, the guy who is smaller, with fast hands. So in this sense, if you think if those punches would be delivered by the big guy, real big, true middleweight like JACOBS, so it could be totally different outcome, which is possible. Golovkin, so considering them, figuratively speaking, we have two lions. One lion is aging, he's super confident, super experienced, Golovkin, and so he's kind of guarding his pride, his territory. And we have a new lion, which is young, JACOBS, who is super hungry, and he is super hungry to establish his turf. And incidentally, the fight comes in New York, which is his hometown, so he has lots to prove, and I think he's ready to prove. And he basically has nothing to lose, everything to win. All three, actually 4 belts on the line. It's WBA, WBC, IBF, and IBO, which is, I think it's a fake belt. It's given to many guys. I think they're trying to legalize it. But anyway, it's still 4 belts on the line. It's a lot to win and nothing to lose for JACOBS, and lots to lose for Golovkin. So if JACOBS manages to win, in one instance he will become famous. He will make history of boxing. So I'm sure he knows what he's going for, this huge status. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be a very tough fight for Golovkin. On the other side, Golovkin, I think he should win this fight. And if some miracle happens in favor of JACOBS, which might be happening, but the chances are small. So I do believe that the fight should end by Golovkin, by KO in favor of Golovkin, somewhere in the first half of the fight, somewhere between the second and sixth rounds. Most likely it's going to be third or fifth, between third and fifth rounds. It's going to be KO. Golovkin should knock out Jacobs, because sometimes he just forgets about his defenses, especially if he's on a mode of attack. He opens up quite a bit, and for Golovkin, it's a huge gift. It's a present. So Golovkin, I don't think Golovkin will miss that opportunity. So let's live long enough to see this fight, March 18, and leave your comments, leave your likes or dislikes, whatever you think. Cheers to everybody.